Hello everybody, ciao a tutti and welcome to Art with Ms.B. Some days ago I published a short about one of my colorful abstract neurographic still life, which was exactly this one. And one of my subscribers asked me if I could share a video, like a tutorial where I can guide you step by step into creating a piece similar to this one. So today I'm going to guide you in this practice, and for this practice you need your mixed media art journal, or if you don't have a journal, or if you prefer to do it on a separate piece of paper, a good mixed media white paper. We're going to use a pencil for drawing, an eraser just in case, black fine Sharpie to do all the lines, and then alcohol markers. I'm using Shuttle Art alcohol markers that you can find on Amazon, and I will include the name and the link in the description box. This practice is a little longer than my latest practice, and I am trying my best to keep them between 25 and 35 minutes. This one, however, because of the practice itself and the technique and the steps that you have to use, it's gonna last 50 minutes. So make sure that you set for yourself time in your schedule to practice with me. But remember that a video is there for you, right? To use it as you wish. So if you know that 50 minutes of practice might be a little too much for you. If you do not have the time, you can break the video in two different parts. So in the first part, you will do the design, the outlines, and maybe you will start to color. And then on a second time, you will complete the color and the final details with the black Sharpie. So remember that you can do you. You can also watch my videos, speeding up a little bit so you can see the whole process in a reasonable like 30 minutes or so, and then you can practice at your own time and convenience. Whatever works for you. Remember that you need to use those videos and the tutorials as beautiful tools that I'm sharing with you to add some creativity in your life, to make you sit down and just focus on something like creative and manual that really support our mental focus, mental relaxations. Mostly this type of practice, they are so connected with our inner self, they are so connected with our brain activity that they are fantastic. For what concerns the colors, you can follow my lead and choose the similar palette, but remember that you can make your choice. You should always make your choices, right? So feel free to use the color that you mostly feel attracted to, the colors that you think that you need in this particular moment to boost your mood, or maybe to embrace it instead. And remember that in the past I published a beautiful video on the color wheels, just in case you would like to understand more about the colors and the color theory. Now I'm gonna switch the camera so we can start, and I really hope that you enjoy this practice together. Let me know in the comment, and so if you want, I can do more. Ciao! Okay, for this neurographic composition, I'm going to use my journal. I'm going to reframe for me, as I usually do, a smaller space. So I receive a lot of positive comment in that short that feature this artwork that I recently created, and that it was on large scale. So because it takes a little time, we're going to do it on a smaller scale. So basically, we first trace everything with a pencil. We don't care that much about the perfection of the images, but it's going to be like, we're going to follow very like a smooth, organic type of line. So this one is going to be the table, my kind of horizon line, and then you build every type of vase or shapes. I'm gonna do the same that I did, a sort of a still life, and you're gonna use just nice soft pencil lines. Don't worry about the intersection of lines, on the contrary, we embrace them. Then we are going to create whatever you want to have inside your vase. I'm gonna give myself some options. And as you've noticed, I'm using really biomorphic shapes, very natural, undefined, very abstract. and I focus on overlapping them. This neuro practice, like neurographic, is called that way because it stimulates basically your brain activity and it helps a lot with introspections and relaxation. You can you don't have to copy mine design. I'm just showing you that you proceed with simple lines. You worry at all like about the perfection of this line. Actually, the more imperfect they are, the better. I'm gonna play around with some shapes. There we go. And now for the background, we are going to use some lines that will intersect our design. Okay, those lines, once again, we are going to kind of create them organically without overthinking. And we divide a space vertically first, and then horizontally. We can leave this one if you want, I would, but then with the other one, I will proceed creating some nice movement. And I know that now it's gonna look a little confusing, but this is also the beauty of this practice, right? And one final over here. Now I'm gonna use a regular tip Sharpie to just redefine my frame. And then we switch to a fine one to go over our lines and do it. You can do the coloring first and the lines, but because it's the first time that you might be doing something like that, let's go in order so it makes more sense. We're gonna kind of retrieve basically the design. And what I love about this practice, they are so fun. There is not a right or wrong way to do it. Just, go with care when you do the outlines. If you need to go slower than I'm going, go slower. If you need to segment the line, so do one little uh, section at a time, you will do that. You just want to do your best so you go over the lines that you have with the pencil and you don't trace too many new lines. Remember that then we can erase the pencil lines and leave the design completely black and white in Sharpie. So okay, now our flowers, leaves, drops, whatever you want to call them. Actually, they remind me uh, my childhood. I remember that my mom in my house when I grew up, in the 80s, um, there was my mom used to keep dry flowers. And there was this plant that I gonna figure it out and find out. I'm very bad with names. There are these beautiful long stems and these beautiful transparent leaves that to me look like, artificial. And in fact, I thought for a long time that it was an artificial plant, but it's not. They look like, I don't know, coins somehow. They were these oval drop regular shapes with a thicker frame, and inside this super sort of almost parchment paper look like. But and these remind me that this one we can make them all black, but let's keep going with the outline. So we're gonna go back on our vertical lines. And as I say, the secret in this practice that you move your hands slowly, but you do not overthinking. You move your lines when you feel that they are needed in order to fulfill the space that you have, right? But you do not overthink the practice, and never you're going to decide your lines according to, oh, this way will look pretty, this way will look bad. No, just focus on the line themselves, on this beautiful process. So just letting it go on the paper. We are not going to make our choices according to what will look better or worse, right? Because then you're going to defeat the purpose of the neurographic art practice, which is very used in art therapy. We need to learn how to trust our instinct, which for us, mostly Western culture, is a very hard thing to do because we have been taught to rationalize everything and to be always so organized and neat and have everything well planned, which is definitely functional, but at what cost? So now if you have an eraser, you're going to erase the line underneath. Remember that we're going to use a lot of color and alcohol markers. So even if you do not erase your line super perfectly, if you do not have eraser, if you don't want to stand up and grab the eraser, it doesn't really matter. At the very end, they will basically disappear unless you trace a very, very, very heavy line. And I always encourage you to don't do that. Just be light because, you just have to see those lines and that's it. Now we have a beautiful still life neurographic composition. Let me make sure that I don't put those on the floor because in the spring break I did a very deep cleaning and I'm so very tired, so I keep the house as clean as possible. And now for the color palette, please do not copy mine. You can absolutely if you like it, but feel free to explore your favorite colors. You know that I'm a blue person, and you can decide to color each section in a different colors, or even use the same color and then maybe somehow overlapping. For example, I don't know, I'm gonna do this one first. Use your favorite technique to color. So in this case, for example, let's say that I want to go over both. Well, probably this one was not the best color to show you because it's pretty intense. And then maybe over here, I'm gonna use something different. I will overlap and then keep using my color for this other section. So you can do that, or you can just color each space with its own color. That might be a little easier to control. If you have dual tip, feel free to use them. So we're gonna say time in coloring one more time, just to make sure that, although as I say, I use like a little too dark a color, I should have shown with a different, but you know, you can, as we say, overlap or not. Now I'm gonna set some blue, 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 and play around with this palette. When you choose the color, try to be intuitive, which, of course, we know the color wheel, and I recently republished a beautiful video where we talk a lot about colors, what are primary, secondary, tertiary, warm and cold, complementary, analogous, etc. But remember, just try to be natural. Don't overthink it. Just do what you think you want to do. Okay. Keep it here pretty dark. And then I might create some reference. It's nice to repeat the same color, mostly if it's a color that we love, in different spots to create a little connection. I want to have a blue gray, if I can find one. There we go. And remember that, for example, I'm going to show you, if you want to alter a little bit of color, and I feel that this blue was way too bright to be next to that, you can overlap a gray on top of your colors, because the gray will give you the shade of the color. So you're going to still stay on the same palette. And look how pretty is that. I think that now I'm going to repeat it, but it's going to, tone that down. And absolutely, I think that I will do it over here again. So I'm going to use the bright, intense blue first. Excuse me. Gee, I'm not done. And I'm not surprised, because I don't know where you live, but here in Utah, so we got 2 days of spring, and then exactly when our spring break in school started last Friday, the weather went back all the way back to winter and has been extremely cold. We got some snow again, believe it or not. We got a lot of rain, hail, and wind. So it's natural, only natural, that I'm still kind of a little congested, because unfortunately the spring is still not here for us. I hope that where you live, the weather is treating you a little better, because it's been a challenge, let me tell you. When you're ready, because you say, oh, it's here, it's here, it's here. And then unfortunately, it is not. And it's tough. It is tough, because the winter has been pretty cold, rainy, and snowing. So I feel that, it's important. And I enjoy the winter, I enjoy the season. And I know the importance of the snow and the water, the rain and the cold for the environment. Just like, okay, now I'm ready. I'm going to create another reference of color over here with this beautiful deep turquoise. Big favorite of mine, all the aqua colors, that's me. But if you're on the opposite and you want to use a really warm palette, please use it. And just make sure that the quality of the coloring is good, is well done, and it reflects your intuit and your work on colors and your artistic skills as well. Let me see. I'm gonna have a green gray now. We're gonna start to switch a little bit. And I'm using the Shadow Art alcohol marker that I bought on Amazon. And I will bring it back over here, switch the tip. Remember that also with markers, you can go over a couple of times and make, the color a little more intense. Now I'm gonna play with some maybe other type of blue and aqua to represent the water in the vase. And then I might change completely the palette for the second half of the drawing, the composition. And I feel that at the end we have so many spaces that those lines gave us. There is a tremendous opportunity for us to explore colors and color palette, even using the colors that we never look. Sometimes, when you have the new palette, there are some colors that will run out, they will dry pretty quickly because are your favorite. And so you really know how to use them, when to use them, feel like connection and familiarity. And then you have those colors that are pretty, basically they stay new. And so you buy a new palette then, and then you have a 2 or 3 of the same colors that usually you never use, and they will stay new in that box of colors. Exactly like that. Now I'm gonna bring this back because I don't want a transition, like, I wanna bring it up slowly, light it up slowly. And I'm not sure about this one now. And I feel that I would probably go over or with a gray or with another color, just green, bluish, maybe even with this one, and see what happens. But I don't want to risk it that is so close to the other one. I'm gonna use this one over here. And over here, definitely. You can really create beautiful composition with this neurographic technique or approach. Maybe another time we can do a landscape instead, or a different type of pattern, like subject, sorry, and see how we can use this way, like a very natural, organic, loose type of lines, and then create multiple other lines and intersect them to see what happened on our paper, similar to the activity that happened in our brain. And you can play around with different color palettes. And at the end, you will have a beautiful product because they're really beautiful and very effective. And at the same time, you will have the benefit of the process that is very soothing and relaxing. See what happens if I do this blue. I already love it. So I'm doing this light blue on top of my violet, light violet, just because I don't think that now that I have the whole palette, I don't think that that violet was looking good. I want something that is still features some blue and some colder undertone. There you go. Nice, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I think that I will do the same over there. So I'm going to grab my violet. I'm going to spread it out in the vase, the last little part that I have to. And then I'm gonna go on top with my blue, creating this new colors that is more similar to the palette that I use around it, but still different. Beautiful. Now let's start to have some fun over here, and I'm going to really change the palette. And as we say, you can go sessions by session, so space by space, or you can go over and then have some overlapping. For example, if I set the orange over here too, and then we're gonna see what happens. Before leaving the markers, I'm gonna use it somewhere else, right? So we save sometimes instead to keep switching back and forth. And even here, I will color the whole thing, but then I will overlap in that sections with something different. Do not press hard with the markers on the paper and do not overcolor when you have the black lines, because a Sharpie, it should stay with no problem. It's just that we don't want to smear it, okay? So we want to keep it nice and neat, because then at the end, after we're done with the color, there is one final touch that we really add that little extra to our composition. So I am, in this case, because there are so many tiny little spaces, I'm going on in the entire leaf, petal, drop, whatever you want to call it. I'm just I want something bronzy. Let me see. Now I'm really on experimental. Nice. Mhm. Now I'm representing the earth as I represented the water. Once again, I suggest you to experiment both when you go in the single space or in specific space, overlapping and non-overlapping. Just have fun. Let me see. Let's see if this one is it's good. Nice. And maybe here I'm overlapping, but not entirely. And now you started to see, right, the juxtapositions of different colors, the way that we alter the colors that we set underneath. It's beautiful. And you can go back, giving the color like a little extra intensity. Beautiful. So you create variety even by using the same color. Here looks lighter, here darker, because I will skip this. I'm gonna use it here. Nice. Proceed with care, slow. So you like let the marker Release the ink on the paper, and most of all, you do not rush yourself. You do not alter the nice rhythm of this practice, because when we do this type of a therapeutic practice, we want to make sure that the focus is on the process. So you don't forget to breathe, you don't forget to fix a posture and position in case you feel that is not the right one. You do not forget to enjoy every tiny little step of this process. Beautiful. And this one even darker. Look at that. Now I'm going to introduce the green. Just want to make sure that it's not too bright. Maybe let's try with this 43, which is similar to the 42. That was this one, but a little brighter. Let me switch the tip. And back to the overlapping. And maybe for this one, I'm going to try something darker and see how I feel about it. I feel good. Let me do the whole thing. And actually, I think that I'm going to use this also for the branches. And because I have so many colors already, I think that I will stick with one. And then when we set the color for the background, we might be able to overlap on some of these. And so we will, naturally, we will alterate that green. Look, I forgot a tiny little piece of the water. Nice. I really love it. Let me see what can I do here for that missing little piece. A tiny little bit of turquoise. Why not? There you go. Now, for the background, you can go really wild. You can insist on some green. You can do very warm, such as golden yellow. You can do neutral as a gray, whatever you feel like, even a mixture of it. I would definitely use some of the gray just because I truly love the gray, blue gray, green gray, and see what happens. And as I say, we're not going to overthink about, oh, this looks pretty, this look, I need to do like a darker on one side or lighter. No, we just focus on feeling those biomorphic shapes by using colors that we are feeling attracted to, and we want to see them more and more. And sometimes I would overlap, sometimes I would not. So let's say that I want to color this in the background because I love those colors. I'm not going to overlap my gray, but you are free to do so if you wish to try and test and see, or if you want to dark it up a little bit. Maybe you can even overlap only one part of it and not the whole thing, whatever you feel like. And I'm gonna treat this like its own tiny little piece. And as I say, let's be spontaneous. I'm gonna switch to maybe green gray. Let's follow the green gray, which is this one. So I'm not gonna put it here, but I'm gonna put it somewhere else. Here, definitely feel very intrigued by this gray. And maybe here I want to try a little overlapping on the orange. There you go. And I have it. And I'm going to do it here as well. And I'm going to overlap it only on the orange maybe. And I'm not going to overlap it over here on the brown. Let's move on to the other side. And let's add it over here. And I will go over this part of the leaves. Now back to my other gray. Now I want to use a little bit more green. I need to just be careful where, but I feel the gray and green go very well together. And green to me is another really big favorite. I just feel that colors that, I don't know, I connect with nature. And you know, at the end of a very long gray winter, I really feel that the need to be, you know, surrounded by nature, restarting cycles like in the spring. Now I'm gonna be careful because if I put it over here, then I can alter that and I don't want. So I'm going to place it in spots when I won't create any conflict. But in case it happens that you have a conflict, we embrace it. As I say, you can go over and rework the color, make it look exactly as you wanted. Here, nice and bold. And maybe I'm gonna go over that green and see what happens. Beautiful. Now, let's see some sort of warm color. Nice. Warm color in beige. We can use it. And I will, over here, going over and going over the green as well. Going over here and overlapping on the whole thing to alter again. And if we don't press hard, we don't risk to break the paper, mostly if you're using a good quality of, mixed and media paper. Beautiful, love it. Let's do it over here in the entire big shape. So I'm going to outline the thing for me, because sometimes with so many lines, we can confuse, we can get a little confused. So I'm gonna outline the shapes and then gently fill it in, making sure that I overlap this new color on top of the existing colors. Beautiful. And probably I will do it over here as well. This time I won't overlap, so I will keep the color of the leaves exactly as I said them before. Maybe I can overlap here on the orange, because that was the whole thing all orange, so it's nice to bring some variety. And I think that my son just arrived, so in case you will hear me talking, is with my son. Now let's see if we can brighten it up and bring some goldish colors over here. It's a nice orange, and I'm gonna overlap with this green as well, so I will alter the palette again. These speckles of light and brightness into the drawing. Like it. Let's brighten it up maybe in here, and I will actually overlap on the green of the branch. So I'm going to create, and I will overlap on the orange as well. You can barely see it, but it's altering the orange underneath. Beautiful. Nice, nice goldish colors. And then I'm going to put a little bit of this color over here, creating some nice plane between the colors that call each other. And it will make sense to bring it over here as well. And I'm not going to overlap the colors of the leaves. So I'm carefully outlining the part that I know that I want and I need to feel. Now we're getting closer and closer, maybe some more like a burnt sienna brownish. Let me see. We start with a small piece. When I'm not sure about the color, you can test it on a side, or you can test it on a small area. And I feel that it's very similar to the other orange, just slightly more like on, intense, which I love it. So I'm gonna probably overlap it a couple of times. So I'm gonna go over to make it look really intentionally darker than the other orange. So it's still representing the light, but differently. And then I will do the whole thing here, overlapping my branches. So I'm going to frame the shape, the whole thing, and then I will go a couple of times, if not 3 times, on top with the same color. Just remember, depending on the quality of the paper, if you see that the paper is starting to kind of peel a little bit or undulating, means that there is a little too much ink, so don't go over because you're gonna risk to break the paper. Now our beautiful piece is done. We go back quickly with the black, and now we patient. You see where every lines overlap, right? We are going to create a sort of a little diamond, like we connect, connect, connect. I did this type of technique also with other pattern that I did in the past, so I highly encourage you to go back and, practice with other videos. There are so many practice divided by therapeutic art with affirmations, how to draw, and mandalas. I'm a big fan of mandalas. They really changed my life, my emotional life, because that when I started to use art not only as a product that I wanted to create to make money or just to, I don't know, kind because I'm an art teacher, so I need to create examples and stuff. Yeah. But when I started to actually dedicate myself and doing art just for the pleasure of doing art and mostly include this type of free therapeutic biomorphic neurographic in this case practice, I felt that I really opened part of my creativity that were locked. And also, I really changed my attitude toward the art practice, and everything just makes more sense and it feels more personal, and it's just like really, really beneficial. And I encourage you, as I always tell my students, art bring us so many benefits, right? Not only fine motor skills, not only coordination skills, creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving skills, but also is so beneficial because it can be really therapeutic for us. It could be a vehicle for us to get to know ourselves and our personality better, to work on our emotions and feelings through colors. Colors are amazing and they have really intense, important power. And sometimes, because of the narrative that the culture and society establish for us, this narrative that only artists practice art, or only if you're very good at art you practice art, that is wrong. It's just wrong because, as I say multiple times, think about sports. If only the people who are good in practicing a sport, let's take the example of soccer or volleyball or basketball, if only those people that are good would practice the sport, it would be so, there would be a very few people practicing. Instead, we do it because it's fun, because it's mentally and physically therapeutic and important, right? And it brings many benefits and skills, even if we are not good at all, even if we will never be professional sport players, right? And we should face art with the same mentality and the same approach. We don't need to be great. We don't need to become an artist or wanted to become one. We just do art because it's beneficial. It's beneficial to our mind, our spirit, therefore our body. So this is a patient, and you might at the end still miss some of the intersections. You will go back and try to catch them all. Sometimes it's difficult because, some of them, they are so tiny, right? And this is since when we are recollecting ourselves with the original design, right? We design, we outline it, we color it, and now we are bringing our attention back to those lines that create a beautiful composition. So you see like the practice like focus, relax, and refocus. Remember that if a line goes a little wrong, you can double it and make it a little darker and thicker, which is going to be really beautiful. Let me double check. I'm going to do like this and it. And you see, sometimes you proceed with an order. Sometimes instead you just go with the flow as I'm going. I'm going to be here. I'm going to go there. And I hope that you really enjoy this practice. I know that when I post the short, many people say this is really beautiful. I really would like to try to do something like that. And sometimes it's just a matter of knowing where to start. So, what to do first and what to do last, and to break down the practice into multiple steps. If you need a little break, take it. As I say, you take as many breaks as you want and you need, but we don't rush through. If we see that we get a little impatient and we're losing it, it's okay. Take a moment, take a deep breath, maybe go for a little walk, or just postpone the rest of the activity for another day. It's really beautiful. And those tiny little diamond, as I call them, they really make this design look more interconnected, exactly like I imagine our brain activity, the activity of our neurons sending energy, right? Electricity that is, take a moment to look at it. I feel that I did it all. And maybe I missed a few intersection, but it looks complete. And now our beautiful neurographic design, it's all done. I hope you enjoyed and you want to try to do some more. I see you in the next practice. Ciao.